I had someone request a video on how to hit pitch shots and bunker shots when we are working off of a downslope like this, especially when there is not a lot of green to work with. How in the world are we going to get this ball up in the air when this thing is on such a hard downslope? So that's what we're going to talk about. We'll take a quick look at bunker shots after this, but the technique is going to be fairly similar. So I will say some of the biggest mistakes I see, or honestly the biggest mistake I see, is players trying to lift the ball up into the air too much, thinking it's on a downslope, I need to do something to get this thing up. So what they do is they will get in here and they will try to get underneath of it as much as they can. Some players will let this weight shift back to the back foot. They will start to lean back on it because of the angle of the slope, and us leaning back, that is going to drop this club into the ground a little bit too soon. So if I'm working down and I'm leaning back and getting my weight working to the back foot, I will see players hit behind this thing way too much. Usually they duff it right in front of them. So we have to do something different, obviously. That's not going to work. We need to do something to get this ball airborne. So what we're going to do first off is grab a club with quite a bit of loft. So here I have a 60-degree pin is tucked very close to me. Need all the help I can get getting this thing airborne. So I've got the 60. If you have a 58, that's fine. So the next thing is going to be, I want this ball in the front of my stance. So this is going to help me hit it a little bit later, deliver a little bit more loft. If I have it back in the stance, how in the world am I supposed to get that thing airborne? I can have the most open face in the world, but if this thing is towards the back of the stance, I'm going to be driving very downwards on it. That thing is not going to get up in the air. I can't take advantage of the loft. So when it comes to the setup, I want to get that ball pretty far forward. I want to get that thing almost off of my front heel when it's a pretty severe slope like this. So we know ball's forward and we are going to take a lot of loft. Next, we need a wide base. We can't get in through here on a slope where we are going to have a lot of difficulty kind of getting our balance here and get really narrow. This is going to make balance very difficult. We need a wide, stable base. So a lot of times I will get that stance almost wider than shoulder width with that ball on the front of the stance. And from here, I'm going to stack my weight onto this front side. So obviously not 100%, I'm not falling completely forward, but I want about 80% of my weight onto this front side here. And the last thing I'm going to do is open my club face. When it comes to opening the club face, one of the biggest mistakes I will see is players will grip the club square and then they will kind of roll the forearms to make that face look like it's open. At the end of the day, it looks open, but our attachment to the club is square. We can open it all day long, but we're going to return that club closer to how we gripped it originally, which is going to be square. You're going to be robbing yourself of a lot of loft, hard to get it airborne. So to open this face, we need to fully let go of this golf club, basically rotate it so that face is going to lay wide open, then go ahead and take our grip from here so our attachment to this club is in a very open position. So from here, we are set up with a wide base, ball forward, weight is forward, club is open with a ton of loft here, and I want to make sure my spine is not leaning away from the target getting into this spot. Want to try to get these shoulders a little bit more level with the slope. So quite a few setup adjustments. Now your two thoughts when it comes to getting through the ball here are going to be keeping your weight forward and keeping the club low to the ground. I see a lot of players, again, that will try to lift the ball in the air. So if we are leaning back, that is going to be getting this club dropping too far into the ground behind the ball. But as we get into the ball, we're going to be working away from it as we start leaning back. We need to make sure that weight stays on the front foot so we can kind of stay down with this slope as this club is extending down along this slope here, not so much letting the weight fall back where we are going to basically hit the ground before it or lift up too much and we are going to blade the daylights out of this thing. So we're going to get in our setup position. With this face being so open, you have a ton of loft. You have to keep the speed up. You cannot get in through here with this much loft and really baby this thing or it's going to go 3 or 4 feet in front of you. You got to keep that speed up with this. So we will get into this setup spot. We'll take a look at down the line quickly after this, but we are going to get in here, nice wide base, weight forward, face is filleted wide open, and we are going to keep this speed up, keeping the weight forward the whole time and kind of extend that club down through the slope. That's going to get it to come out nice and high, land relatively soft, so we'll take a look at this from this down the line view and take a quick look at bunker shots as well. When we're looking at this shot down the line, there's not a ton to add other than alignment. So one thing I will see is when players open the club face, they will think, okay, the face is open, so I need to aim my feet way over to the left side here. So they will get in a position like this, where the stance is super open, thinking they're kind of matching the face. So this is where there's different ways that we can control this. And this is going to be with the height of the hands. So when we are looking on this down the line view, when the face is open, if I go ahead and I get these hands high, that is going to encourage that ball to shoot a little bit more over to this right side. But as I start to lower these hands a little bit, this is going to bring that lie angle down, or make it a little bit more upright, essentially, a more upright lie angle of this club. As I start to lower the hands, as it starts to get more into this position, is going to encourage it to work a little bit more left. So I will go ahead and kind of show you guys my normal setup down the line. I will get in here and I will get the hands nice and low. I don't keep these hands elevated, or that ball probably will shoot out to the right side. Plus, with it being a downslope, getting these hands low makes it easier to kind of stay down with this slope. When it comes to the stance position, because I'm getting those hands lower, and that is going to encourage that ball to come over a little bit more left, even though I have an open face, I don't need to open the stance that much anymore. And the other downside of this is, as I start to get this stance very open, it makes it harder to keep the weight on the front side. That is where I will see players kind of fall back on it a little bit more. So when I'm in this position, I'm going to keep that face open. I'm going to go ahead, make sure my stance is fairly square. Sometimes I will even go a little bit closed with these, because it really helps you keep that weight planted forward, get that face open, get those hands nice and low, and then, like we talked about on that face on view, stay down through that shot nicely. No, maybe just a little bit short there, needed one more hop, but not the end of the world from that type of position. So we'll quickly take a look at bunker shots as well. When we are working out of the bunker, it's going to be pretty much the same exact thing, except I'm trying to hit just a little bit behind this golf ball, call it about 1 to 1.5 inches, somewhere in through there. So this is where the setup is going to be identical. The weight's going to stay nice and forward, but again, we just want to hit right behind this golf ball a little more. And this is where, if we're kind of looking at that line that I drew just behind this ball, if I get here and I start to lean back, that is where it's going to become very obvious that this club is going to bottom out way too soon. I'm bottoming out probably 4 or 5 inches behind that golf ball. And that is where, if the sand is firm, you are going to hit off the sand and you are going to blade it. If the sand is soft, you're going to hit behind it, dig, and you're going to chunk this thing, and it's going to go nowhere. So same ideas, same exact setup. We are going to keep that weight forward, hands low, face nice and open, hit behind this thing, and keep the speed up. So I hope you guys found that helpful. If you have any other shots that you would like to see, please drop them in the comments below. As a bonus, to see how the hand height can affect how this ball is going to come out, let's open the face and keep these hands real high. I'm going to keep my stance square, keep the hands high, but keep that club face open. You're going to see that ball is going to start to shoot out a little more right. Instead, if I go ahead and I get these hands much more low down in this position, face is just as open, stance is very square, you can see that ball is going to come out much cleaner. And even though the face was wide open, I didn't have to aim way left to get that thing to come out fairly straight.